Hello, I'm very glad to have a chance to share with you our project. My name is Martin Stepanek. I will give you a presentation about the project, and my colleague Marek will then continue with the live demo. We addressed the underwriting process, which is the process where insurer receives the request for coverage from a client. In our case of the corporate insurance, it is received mostly via brokers. And after receiving the request, employee of the insurer named underwriter evaluate the request and set the price for the coverage. Our project was realized within the Generali PPF Holding, which is the leading insurer in the Central and Eastern Europe. There is 10 countries included. Our project currently operates in Czech Republic, Slovakia, Poland, and Hungary. Project objective was to support underwriting process, which is one of the most complex insurance processes. Another complexity dimensions were that it is application serving for more companies, more member companies, and in multi-language environment. Business users specified major requirements. Process management, the processes should be managed better than before the project, where they were mostly paper-based. Paper means Microsoft Office, Outlook, Excel, Word. So the part of the requirements was to include the document management and electronic file, where all inputs and outputs of the case, of the underwriting case, are stored in one place and available whenever needed. Part of the project covered the improvement of working environment, where users usually work manually and entered the data into several IT systems or receive the information from different not integrated systems. Measuring of the business performance, like profitability of the insurance, was also required, as well as process performance, like cycle time for the quoting, for preparation of the offers to the clients. Project roadmap, we started in 2010 by selection of the solution, and originally it was not assumed as a business process management project. The original business requirement was to support underwriting processes. 3 options were evaluated: out of the box solution for policy administration, in-house solution built in one of the member companies, and the third option was business process management system. Business process management system was selected as it covered best the requirement both for the process automation as well as multi-company, multi-language dimensions. First version was designed and delivered at the beginning of the 2011. The development started with Bizagi in January 2011, and first version was delivered in March. After that, the project scope has been extended. It's been extended in two dimensions. First, more business logic, more business processes were included, namely the pipeline management process, which covers the sales activities and communication of the salesperson, of the insurer with the brokers and clients. Second, most difficult extension was the integration with the legacy system. So we have integrated in the biggest member company the legacy system. So now there is a two-way integration, both business migration of the old cases from the legacy system into the BPM application and backward export from the BPM to legacy system. Application went live in 2012 and new member companies were included, like Generali Slovakia and Generali Hungary, with tailor-made processes for these companies. Maturing in 2013, where live application was in 4 countries and 5 companies. And in 2014, we have already full policy administration in the biggest company. And it covers not only underwriting, but also the endorsement, policy cancellations, and like. The process itself, I already mentioned, covers pipeline management, request registration, quoting, integration with the legacy system, issuing of the policy. The process map of one of the member companies you can see here. After the registration, the quoting process starts. Quoting means insurer prepares quote, proposal, or offer to the client broker with price and proposed coverages based on the request from the broker. During the evaluate quotes process, the price is prepared. There is a communication with several other departments like risk management, reinsurance, or product management. In case that there is some need for authorization of senior underwriter or senior manager, the authorized quotes process is used. After the quote is prepared and approved, it is issued, meaning delivered to the client broker, with possibility of the client to ask for changes, which can be done during the issue quote process, or in case that the changes are major, it can come back to evaluate quote process and go through authorization again. In case that the client agrees with the proposal, the process continues with the policy issue and finalize accepting by client the policy. So this is just a happy pass. There is much more processes, much more logic within the system. The total number of the processes delivered within 5 member companies and 4 countries is 51 processes with 711 process elements. Process element, I mean activity, gateway, events, sub-processes, and so on. There is 438 business entities, data entities like policy, quote, client, coverage, location, and so on. There is approximately half is the master data, half is the parameterization. Number of forms is also quite high. These include the subforms, not so this is the number of the user screens, but the number of the forms and subforms which are linked to the entities and to the process logic. benefits which were delivered, reporting for management, and as well for underwriters to see what they are doing, what they were doing. Quote preparation time reduced up to 60% due to the automations and integrations. PDF layout, you would be able to see it in the live demo. We estimate 50% saving on IT costs compared to the other options assumed at the beginning. Lesson learned from the business point of view. We find out that a lot of insurance processes are actually case management processes without fixed flow. As the Bizagi is data-centric, we could use standard BPMN notation and implement the case management where underwriter decides who will work on what part of the quote, whether the reinsurance or risk management will be included and when, and so on. So underwriting process is a case management process. This is our lesson learned. We started with one process covering more companies. This came out as not manageable due to the complexity, so we built tailor-made processes for each member company, and this is much easier to administer. We start with one form, user forms for the different line of business. Later we split the forms for property line of business, engineering line of business, liability line of business, and like. As we used Bizagi, we have the state-of-the-art BPM tools like reporting and support all processes lifecycle. So process visibility, processes are documented and are visible and are live. These are the live processes. Analysis and reporting, auditing, business rules. This all constitutes the tool we are using. Out of the box web portal, versioning of the processes, seamless deployment, data, enterprise class application. We use .NET version of the Bizagi integration. There is 20 different integrations within the application. I will stop a little bit within the deployment. We operate in the continuous delivery mode, which means that we deploy new features and changes, once a week. This is one of the factors which helps us to manage complexity and to deliver very complex application with very efficient cost. So we capture the requirements or feedback from users, and we immediately enter them into the system and deploy them on a weekly basis, which helps a lot to keep the users involved and helps a lot to keep the feedback and minimize the overhead both for deployment and development. Okay, so I will now hand over my screen to my friend and colleague Marek, and he will show you the live demo of the application. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Martin. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to present you the live demo part. This section will be divided into two parts. In the first part, we will go through the underwriting process in Generali Hungary, where there will be preparing a quotation for the client in PDF. And in the second part, I will be a Generali Slovakian manager who is presenting or who is preparing some reports for a meeting where he would like to show how the business is going on in Slovakia. So let's start with the first part. So I'm gonna log on to the environment. So as you can see, this is my inbox with all of my cases, and we would like to start a new one. So I'm gonna create on the create new opportunity link, and we need to, in the first phase, in the first activity, we need to fill some mandatory data for a case registration. So I'm gonna enter the title of the opportunity. I need to specify the managing agency, which is internal sales, opportunity type, which is the new client in our case, and we need to also specify the potential revenue. In our case, it will be at 30,000, and we need to search for the client. So I'm gonna search for the client. Yes, this is the client that I would like to connect with the quotation. And as a last step, we need to specify the product. In our case, it will be a property product which is called named perils, and we need to specify the coverages that we would like to include to the quotation, to the product. So I'm gonna select fire, burst pipe, storm, and glass, and I'm gonna hit save button, and that's it. This is all these steps that are necessary to do in the first activity. So we can move forward to the activity which is called update of the opportunity. And in this activity, we can directly start the quotation process. So in order to do that, we need to change the pipeline stage to the underwriting, and hit continue button. And after we change the stage to underwriting, we will be able to launch the quotation process. So as you can see, this is the section where we can start the process, and we can assign the quotation process to anybody in the company. In our case, it will be ourselves who will be preparing the quote, so I'm gonna pick my name, and I'm gonna hit continue button again. And at this stage, we are preparing the quotation process, and the quotation process is available here on this button. So we can directly open the quotation process. And the first step, we need to specify if we would like to use the cooperating mode or not. In our case, we would not to use it. It will be just ourselves who will be doing the quote. If we select yes, we can involve other people that will help us during the quote preparation. So in our case, the cooperation mode will be disabled. So I'm gonna hit continue button, and we are now in the quotation process. So we can have a look on the process map. Here's the graphical query which allows us to show where we are in the process. So we are at the beginning, at the first activity, where we are specifying the products, and we can build a draft of the PDF that could be sent to the client. So as you can see, the process continues with the authorization via holding and by internal authorization, and then if everything is okay, at the last step, we can build a signed PDF which is part of the policy. So in our case, we will be just showing the draft. So I'm going back to the case, and as you can see here, we specified the property products that we would like to include to the quotation. So we have a property tab available in the quote. So we can just click on the add product link, and this is the product form where we specify all the necessary attributes of the named perils product. As you can see, most of the description are in Hungarian because we are in the Hungarian environment. So basically what we need to do is we need to specify the insured items. The epithet means building, so this is some building description XYZ. We need to specify the sum insured and the valuation. Of course, by default it's this value. We also would like to include the second one. This is also some description, and we will also specify the sum insured. As you can see, when I enter the sum insured, the valuation turns the color to red. That means the field is mandatory when the sum insured is specified. Okay, so we would like to include those two sum insureds, and we need to specify the coverages. By default, we specify that we would like to insure fire and the others which are present here. And what we need to do is specify the limits. In our case, the limit will be the same for all coverages. We need to specify the deductible percentage and deductible value. That's too much. And of course, it's necessary and mandatory to specify the rate. In this section, special condition means this is something that extends the coverages, extend the scope of the coverage. So by default, this is the list which is set to be present on the quote. So we can specify the limit if necessary for these special conditions, and this one. Me as an underwriter, I have a possibility to include some discounts. So in our case, we will include a 5% duration discount and a 10% claims-free discount. So this is how the product looks like. We have done everything which is necessary, so we can hit the calculate total premium button, and at the end we should have the total premium after discount. So we can save the product, and we can build a PDF that could be sent to the client. So what we need to do is we need to include the product to the quote. So I'm gonna select the product that we just built up. As you can see, the total premium of the quote is now 9,063, and I will just select the proper template and hit the generate document button, and after a few seconds I will receive the PDF document that will contain all the data that we just include in the product and in the quote. Here we go. So we can open the document. So as you can see, the PDF is completely in Hungarian language. So it includes all the data that we just specified in the quotation. So basically the underwriter will just print this PDF, sign it, and send it to the client. So this was the first part of the live demo. Okay, in the second part of the demonstration, I would like to show you the reporting module that we have in the BPM. So I am now the Slovakian manager who is responsible for the team of underwriters, and I would like to prepare some reports that I would like to present on the meeting, where I would like to show how the business is going in Generali Slovakia. So I will log on as a administrator of the system, as the manager, and as you can see, the environment is the same like in Generali Hungary. But I would like to show you the queries which are placed on the left menu. And as you can see, based on the credentials, I have some preset queries that are available in the system. So basically those queries are ordered in a way that I can see query for the current month, current quarter, and current year, and of course I can do query for all cases that are stored in the production environment. So in our case, I would like to show you the query regarding to my team. So basically, on one click, I have immediately a report that show us how many cases were created this month. So on the bottom we can see the underwriter's name, and we can see the number of cases that have been created this month. We can of course we can export this data to the Excel sheet, and we can do some more analysis. On the tab data, we have the current counts. So that's one query regarding to my team. The other one is different view, and I would like to show you the query which shows us the potential revenue, so per underwriter. So on this graph we are seeing that how much do we expect to get this month. So this is the potential revenue per underwriter, so I can immediately see the performance and the size of business that will come to Generali Slovakia. Of course, I have the data could be exported to Excel as well as on the previous case. So those are the graphic analysis. If I don't want to use the default graphic analysis that we currently have in the system, I can easily just launch the query as it is, so I can immediately get the results. And as you can see, I have here client, I have here line of business, so I can immediately see what kind of products are present in the quotation, and I immediately see the stage of the status of the case. So I can see that those cases are in the quotes, and so we are waiting for the feedback from the client. And of course, I can directly look into the case by clicking on this link, and I can also export this query to Excel, so I can do whatever I want with those data. I can build up any analysis that I want to show on the meeting. So this is pretty good. I don't have to wait for other reports from the data warehouse. I have the reporting available on demand. So this is the query which is based on the business cases. I can show you also the query which is based on the quotations that have been built. So for example, I would like to see all the quotes that were built from the 1st of November. I just set the creation date from to 1st of November 2014. Click on the search button, and I get immediately the number of cases that have been created by my team. And I can also export this data to Excel file and do whatever I want. So I think this reporting module is pretty good, and it's a built-in feature in the BPM, and it allows underwriters to get basic facts about the portfolio and how the business is going in particular country. In our case, it was Generali Slovakia. So that's it from my side. Thank you for watching.
Thanks to Martin Stepanek for the very informative presentation, and to Jan Marek for the great product demo. So, who is Bizagi? Bizagi have been in the business of process automation for 25 years now. We believe that business process automation and improvement should be easy and intuitive, enabling organizations to automate processes faster and more flexibly. We are passionate about delivering faster results to our customers. We are supporting our customers with a truly global 24/7 organization, headquartered here in the UK. We are working with some of the world's largest companies on their business transformation journeys, and we have strategic partnerships with all of the global consultancies to support precisely that journey, the likes of Ernst & Young, PwC, Infosys, etc. Before the product demonstration, I want to look briefly at one of the key factors behind the success achieved at Generali, Bizagi's unique BPM architecture. Bizagi believes that modern, scalable BPM systems need a BPM stack, or a layered architecture if you will, to support continuous improvement and agility. These stacks help to separate complex problems into distinct logical layers that promote usability, flexibility, and business people engagement. The Bizagi BPM stack comprises of 3 layers. The process layer is the business-owned part of the BPM system, which allows users to define requirements, design processes, generate comprehensive documentation, or create business rules. The second layer, the data layer, is a separate layer and it's owned by IT. It's built on virtualization, which helps to deal with project complexities by removing data from the process discussions. The data layer enables entity and data interaction definitions, serving as a repository of business objects which are designed for reuse, improving the speed of development. Examples are widgets, UI forms, and business rules. The third layer, the enterprise layer, is owned by IT. This layer transparently manages the way data is accessed via our data virtualization technology, allowing the BPMS to reach out and interact dynamically with any application, from back-office CRM and ERP to existing legacy system. Another unique aspect of Bizagi is its approach to mobility. Bizagi delivers fast results that run optimally on every mobile device. Bizagi supports a model once, run anywhere philosophy. You design your user interface once and then run the application. All forms, all the user interface elements will be rendered accordingly for all current mobile devices. Our innovative user interface supports new devices as they come to the market. In Bizagi there is no such thing as a mobile form, but only a single user interface that you design. The complete palette of interface widgets are available for any device, including multi-page grids and data tables. With the extensibility of the Bizagi widget platform, customers can easily add new forms across multiple devices. What's more, our widget exchange offers a wide collection of complex UI building blocks to help you speed up your development. The result is quite clear. Bizagi mobile BPM users don't have to worry whether their device supports the software. Even the most complex BPM scenarios can now be handled by end users regardless of whether they are on a notebook, tablet, or smartphone. Let's take a look at this in practice with another brief product demonstration. You have already seen the Bizagi implementation in the context of Generali. Now, I'd like to demonstrate some of the features introduced in recent versions of Bizagi, with a particular focus on mobility and reports. For the demonstration, we're going to imagine that in a large insurance company like Generali PPF Holding, in addition to the customer-facing processes we have seen, we're doing an internal employee onboarding process, where we hire new employees, and we want to make sure that their equipment, their laptop, their desk telephone, mobile, etc. are all ready for them when they actually start. In the demonstration, we're going to play the role of a line manager, Susan, who's going to start this process on her iPad to complete the initial employee form. Then, as the head of department, Mike, we're going to pick up our phone, we're going to open that initial request, and we're going to approve that request from our iPhone. And we're also going to look at a lot of the real-time and historical reporting and analytics that are available on the iPad. But before we go into the mobile part of the demonstration, let's have a quick look at what the application looks like from the desktop. So this is the Bizagi work portal, the web-based front end that can be used by any of the end users within the enterprise to connect to Bizagi. The look and feel of the work portal can be changed. You can change colors, you can change branding to suit any particular branding guidelines of your own enterprise, and all of this without the need for any programming. Right now I'm looking at Susan's current workload. These are open cases that require Susan attention. In particular, we can see the name of the business process here. We can see the individual task that the business process is at the moment. We can see SLAs, i.e. the expected duration for individual tasks or for the process as a whole. If either of those dates, if either of those values aren't met, then the individual case is marked as red, which means overdue. If the case is due or the individual activity is due for completion today, it is then marked as yellow. And if the case is due in the next few days, then it's marked as green. There is no immediate risk. In a way, this color-coded system allows any end user to prioritize their current workload. This is a standard inbox. If I want to display the information in a slightly different way, I can do so. And I can switch this particular view here, which allows me to highlight individual cases, to bring up their details without the need for me to actually open the case and start working on the case itself. So let's go back now to the individual display that we've seen earlier. What we're going to do now is to display one particular case to show you what the user interface looks like when created using Bizagi Studio. So this is a new employee that's going to start in the enterprise in the next few days. All the information that you see on the screen, the various user interface components like tabs, for example, dynamic tables that can be edited directly from the web, all of this was created using the Bizagi UI Forms Designer contained in Bizagi Studio without the need for any programming. The information is contextual, which means depending on the values that I select for one or more fields, other parts of the interface itself can appear or disappear. So we can define visibility rules, editability rules, etc., etc. The same kind of functionality that we will find exactly on the iPad. In particular, we can also connect to a web service, like I've got this button here that connects to an external web service to retrieve the employee number that is going to be, let's say, generated randomly from an external system. So this actually doesn't simulate, it actually connects to an external web services element. All of this we will see on the iPad itself. If I want to progress onto the next case, all I have to do is click on the next button, and then this case will move on to the next stage, which is the approval from the head of department. But before we do that, let's have a look at the same case and start a new case from the iPad. What you're seeing on the screen is a regular iPad. There is nothing special about it other than the fact that I'm running on the laptop a software that allows me to mirror the iPad screen onto the laptop itself for the purpose of broadcasting. As you may have noticed, I do have the Bizagi app running on this particular iPad. I have downloaded the Bizagi app from the Apple App Store. If I had been using an Android device like a tablet or smartphone, I would have downloaded the Bizagi app applicable to that device from Google Play. The app is also available from the Windows App Store for Windows Surface devices or modern Windows 8 laptops. So depending on the device of your choice, you always have one Bizagi app that runs on those devices. I'm now logging into the same demo system that we have seen a few moments ago, using exactly the same credentials, using Susan's credentials. So that is once again my inbox, which I can choose to display in the same two different manners that we've seen earlier. I have the list of cases and the same list of columns that can be customized once and for all, and it will display accordingly depending on the device that you're using at the moment. The same color-coded system also applies, so all in all we get the same kind of very rich functionality, the same kind of visibility and editability rules that you would get from a desktop. The difference on the iPad obviously is that every single element of the user interface is displayed in a way that matches the iPad native display, the iPad native capabilities. Let's have a look at that in greater detail. So if I decide to work on the same case that we've seen earlier, we find once again the four tabs that contain various UI elements, a picture, various fields, a date that I can change, the same kind of visibility rules that we've seen earlier, whereby changing the values from yes to no can hide or display one particular field or entire sections of the user interface. But we also find something more advanced, if you wish, the same dynamic tables that we've seen on the desktop. I now have them here on the iPad that can be edited as if I was using a laptop or a desktop. So there is no limitation in terms of case management from the iPad perspective or from any other tablet's perspective. The same goes for a smartphone itself. We've seen the four tabs, we've seen the various details. What we're going to do now is to go back to the inbox and create a new case and work that particular case for the two first tasks. So we're going to start a new case for a new employee in the enterprise, and then we're going to send the case once we've filled in all the information to Mike, the head of department, for his approval or rejection. So let's do precisely that. I'm going to click on new, as I've done, select the proper application, recruitment and selection, and then new starter. So I do have on screen one new case which is not filled in. What we've done for the purpose of the demo is obviously to create a nice button here, populate, that will fill most of the fields in for me. Obviously that saves time. In real life you have to enter some of the data or gather the data from an external system. The important part about what you're seeing right now on the screen is that the Bizagi app uses a unique blend of native hybrid technology. So that means that while we rely on things such as HTML5, at the same time we rely on using the internal native controls of the device that we are using at the moment. In this particular case, it would be the iPad itself. So I can select a date using the native controls. And for example, if I want to, I can take a picture or upload a picture using the iPad native controls, which is exactly what I'm going to do now. Let's say that I want to upload a picture for this particular new employee, John Smith. And you can either take a picture with the iPad itself, for example, if I have the employee available with me, or I can upload a picture from the photos available on the device itself. So everything has been filled in. From a functionality point of view, we don't have any difference with respect to desktop users, and the same goes for smartphone users. Now I'm going to send the case onto the next stage for the head of department to approve it or reject. So now we click on next. I will see the case sent to the next item, to the approver, so to speak. What we're going to do now is to display the point of view of another user. In this case, Mike. Mike is using an iPhone. It could be any other smartphone, and Mike decides to work on that particular case by approving or rejecting the case itself. I have the Bizagi app open in this particular instance, and I can now log in using Mike's credentials. Let's say that I want to go back to the inbox for the iPad. So we find the same case that we've created, earlier. Let's see if we can match the exact same number. So we can decide to work on that case, and we can display exactly the same details as we've seen earlier. So we have the name of the employee, their department, the start date. All the information that was available earlier has become, of course, read-only. The only field that Mike can edit are the approval or rejection field, and if applicable, the ability to enter new comments. So in terms of functionality and case management on the iPhone, we don't get any restriction. However, we do have a much smaller screen, and in this particular case, a much narrower screen, which means the same 4 tabs that we've seen earlier. We need to display them in a way that is clever, that is intelligent, and it obviously matches the new screen size. So here it is. This is how we do it. We have a pull down menu that allows me to select the particular tab, and functionally it doesn't really restrict what I could do in the same way that I could do it on the iPad itself. So let's go back now to the original screen. What we want to do is to add a comment, and we want to approve this particular request. So I want to say approved. We don't need to add any comment. Last but not least, if I were to tilt the iPhone screen, so you would see that the information is displayed accordingly, and automatically the user interface for Bizagi is rotated in a way that obviously makes sense, and then obviously makes the best use of the screen that we have in this particular case. So let's say that I want to approve, and I want to send now this case to the particular next step, which would be the actual employee configuring the network access, configuring the purchase order for the new hardware, etc., etc. So we have seen the functionality, the base case management functionality from the iPad and from the iPhone. What we're going to do now is to have a look at the reports on the iPad itself. For a long time now, Bizagi customers have been enjoying a comprehensive suite of performance reports, both real-time and historical, through the web browser on their desktop and notebook devices. But now they can do the same through their tablet devices. We have access to all these real-time and historical reports. Specifically, we have 2 types of reports: the BAM and analytics reports. The BAM, or business activity monitoring, refer to ongoing cases that are still open, that are still live in the system, whereas the analytics section refers to historical cases that are now closed. We do have 2 different sets of reports. In both instances, BAM and analytics, we have reports at the process level and at the individual task level. So let's have a look at some of those particular reports. If I want to select BAM and I want to look at the reports at the task level for ongoing cases, all I have to do is to select the right process. So we were looking at new starters. This chart here gives me an indication of ongoing new starter cases, so onboarding employees within the system, and I can see that I have about 30% of those cases that are now overdue, because one or more of the activities are themselves overdue. The cases obviously represented here can be retrieved very quickly by just tapping one of the particular wedges of the pie chart. So if I want to display those cases that were marked as red, all I have to do is tap on the pie chart and the list will be displayed on the screen. If I were to do this from the desktop, I would have additional options, for example, for the purpose of case administration, things such as reassigning the case or forcibly closing the case itself. Another similar report, again for real-time cases, is what we call load analysis. So this gives me once again an overview of the process, and in particular it gives me a real-time breakdown task by task of the new starter cases within my system, telling me for each of those activities, for each of those tasks, how many cases I have right now stuck at a particular activity and how many of them are on time, at risk, or overdue. If I want to know more about those cases, all I have to do is once again highlight one particular activity, and to get the detailed list, all I have to do is to click on the magnifying lens itself. From a reporting perspective, we do have plenty of reports. We're going to be looking at probably another 2 depending on the time that we have. All of those available for the desktop user as well as for the mobile user using an iPad or an equivalent tablet. So we've talked about real-time reports and historical reports. Let's have a look at some of the historical reports, specifically the analytics section. And once again, let's highlight some of the reports, for example, available at the task level. All I have to do once again is to select the appropriate process. So we were looking at the onboarding process that we've called New Starter. Once again, Bizagi uses the process map as the blueprint for the entire solution, the same process map that it used throughout the life cycle of the business process itself. At design time, when the process is modeled, and then for the automation purposes, and now at runtime and for reporting purposes. So this is once again the New Starter process. I would like to draw your attention on one particular option, the drop-down menu that allows me to select the version for this process. This is extremely important because in a real production environment, I will likely have several versions of the same process running side by side, which means I could compare the historical charts for New Starter version 1.0 against the same identical reports for version 2.0 or 2.5 and so on. This is extremely important because it provides me with valuable information for the purpose of continuous improvement, which is one of the reasons why we've adopted this solution in the first place. If I want to know about individual tasks, I can do exactly the same thing that I did earlier, whereby I can display statistics about individual activities. In this particular case, the information only relates to closed cases, so there are no at-risk cases. The cases are already out of anybody's inbox, so to speak. More importantly, I can show what we call frequent paths, so an actual analysis of the behavior of my process. Let's suppose that this was an actual production environment. It wouldn't be a huge waste if we were to find out that, for example, only 46% of our cases actually follow the success path as we expect them to do. We thought, for example, that 80% or 90% of our cases would follow a normal, let's say, happy path, so to speak. But we find, in fact, that the actual percentage as measured by Bizagi is much, much lower. We can display individual paths by scrolling through the various options. In this particular demo example, we find, for example, that almost 31% of the cases go straight to rejection. So if this was a real-life production environment, obviously it would be invaluable information for the purpose of spotting bottlenecks, for example, or an important point to start a continuous improvement initiative, and obviously change the process itself to reduce the high rejection rate. Last but not least, for the purpose of reporting, we want to have a look at sensors. So far, all the reports that we have seen, although they are just a small subset of all the reports available out of the box in Bizagi, they either deal with the process as a whole from end to end, so to speak, or for the individual activity, the individual task. However, what happens sometimes in reality is that individual employees within the enterprise are responsible for one specific subsection, one specific slice of one process. We cater for that kind of need with the sensors functionality in Bizagi. All I have to do is to select the right process there. The sensors functionality allows me to measure the performance or to define an SLA, not for the process as a whole, not for the individual activity, but one specific subset. Let's say that I want to create a new stopwatch, and I want to name it Susan. So I need to provide one particular. I need to provide the display name for the stopwatch itself, and I need to define an SLA. So I want to say that from end to end, from the start of my stopwatch to the end of the stopwatch, it doesn't have to be more than 1 day. The other option that I need to specify is where the stopwatch starts, for example, from this activity here, and when the stopwatch ends. Let's say that I want to measure from approve starter request to configure hardware request. That's it, I have configured, so I'll be measuring the cases going forward, but also retrospectively all the cases already present in the system. All I need to do is to click on apply, and then to go back to the reports to see the data that we have gathered about the process itself. So we are measuring 11 cases, so we can see the cases that have obviously complied with a particular SLA that I've already predefined. And once again, if we want to know more about the individual list, all we have to do is just click on the magnifying lens to get the detailed list of the cases themselves. That concludes our demonstration and our presentation. For more information on the topics we have covered, you can go to www.bizagi.com. In particular, visit our resources area and look at some of the white papers we have there around thought leadership. There's one white paper titled "You Can't Put Lipstick on a Pig," which is precisely about rethinking your processes for mobile BPM success, and it dives into a lot of detail about Bizagi's unique approach to mobility. You can also download our products free of charge. You'll find free training and a comprehensive set of product information videos as well. We have now time to take a few questions.